Hello and welcome to our online reflection for this week here on Liberton Kirk Online. It's lovely to be with you, and what a beautiful week we've had with so much sunshine. Even much more so, I got a little bit sunburnt, and as you can tell, nothing so good than having a vitamin D deficiency. Anyway, enough of that, but it's great to be with you as always this week. And we're looking back into David's Psalms, and this one is quite powerful in regards to talking about the Lord as our strength and our refuge. Let's read together Psalm 59, verse 9. It says this: O my strength, I will watch for you, O God, are my fortress. I get a lot of questions asked of me whenever I place this particular virtual background behind me, particularly on online meetings. And nearly every time, it usually comes from people who are not where I come from, usually those that come from America. They always ask me, what's that big building that you're standing in front of? Is it a castle? And I would say, yes, it's Edinburgh Castle. Actually, I only live about a 20-minute walk away from the castle. And by this point, I would always see their eyes go so wide and they would say, wow, that's incredible. You live near a castle? Tell me more. Then I would say to them, it's actually far more than just a castle to look at. It was built as a fortress, a place of safety and refuge. And it was a military fortress for a time where people will run when danger came, trusting that behind its strong walls they would find protection from whatever threatened them outside. So much so that research has suggested that there has been 26 sieges in its 1100-year-old history, which gives Edinburgh Castle the title of being the most besieged place in the British Isles and one of the most attacked in the world. Isn't it interesting how a building so high up a dormant volcanic rock that towers over a large city still remains standing firm after every single siege, every single battle, and every attack that has came against it? Rocky histories, but yet it can still stand proudly. That is a lot like how David experienced his life in the midst of persecution, surrounded by conflict and uncertainty, yet still able to stand firm because the Lord was the rock beneath his feet and the fortress around his life. David wrote this psalm when he was in the midst of danger from Saul and his army, who were on the lookout to try and take his life. And so instead of writing down his anxieties and fears, on the other hand, he expresses how he looks to God as his true fortress, his place of safety, refuge, and strength when enemies surrounded him. He mentions how David witnesses God as the ultimate strength that does not help to overcome, but also protects. Just like how a fortress that stands secure against every assault and shelters those who run within its walls, David proclaims that he will no longer fear those who rise against him, because his confidence rests in the God who is stronger than any enemy. And it's not just the strength that comes from having to find the best way to overcome on David's own terms, but it is a strength that is further beyond himself, a strength that is bestowed to him from God, one that has the power not just to save, but also to maintain. And so maybe when we feel like life can have those little moments where we feel under pressure, under the weight of uncertainty, and we could feel like unrest is just around the corner, just like how David looks to God for his own dwelling place of safety, and just as how Edinburgh Castle has stood through siege, storm, and struggle, we can remind ourselves that God is always in the business of protecting his people, becoming a shelter for those who run to him and a refuge for every weary heart. God is not only just a refuge for ancient times, but a refuge for us now. So may we once again remind ourselves that in that same strength and power that God gave to David, even when life was throwing so many battles, burdens, and uncertainties to him, That power, that fortress, and that strength is still here with us now. All we have to do is look up and find where it comes from. God bless you. And until next time, enjoy the rest of the week. Have a beautiful week. God bless.